Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the Wrestling Classic. Justin here, back for the TWC show. I apologize, there was not a show last week. I went to Orlando for Revolution, but you guys will hear all about that because we're going to do a whole Revolution recap episode, a bonus episode for this week where you guys can hear about my entire experience in Orlando and everything that went down, even the stuff I can't post about on my page. You guys can hear all about that on the Revolution recap. I hope Daniel will join me for that when we record that in a bit, and then maybe some other guests. But we have a ton to talk about when it comes in terms of AEW. Plus, we have a ton to talk about when it comes to terms of all wrestling. But you'll listen to the TWC show live on Ruckus Avenue Radio and wherever you listen to podcasts. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you join the Discord. We are close to 1,000 people. We're like 10 people away. And if we get 1,000 people in the Discord, there will be a giveaway. So make sure you join it. The link is in my bio. I understand, even though I keep changing the settings for the link to never expire, it somehow keeps getting changed back to expires in 7 days, and sometimes the link doesn't work.
That's weird. So Discord's
already. Yeah, click the link. Let me know if it works, and go join the Discord. The community is always bumping. Everyone's always talking to each other during the shows and stuff. I pop in and out of there all the time. And there is an Ask Me Anything section if you do or want to get my attention directly. Like, I always open the Discord like 30 times a day. It's just sometimes there's so much going on. I miss so much that I'm like not even in the right conversation anymore. And also, lastly, if you guys haven't, TWCshop.com, all the anniversary merch is still up there. Hulk shirts is still limited quantity available. Someone actually purchased one today, running out of sizes, but if you want one, jump on there, TWCshop.com. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me or hit the contact email for the shop. It comes to me anyways, and we can try to figure some stuff out. But what's going on, Daniel? How's wrestling the last 2 weeks outside of AEW?
It's been
a lot of new champions. A lot of new champions.
There's a lot of new champions.
Finn Balor is the new United States champion. Ricochet is the new Intercontinental champion. And some other guy won the NXT.
And then, of course, my guy,
DZ.
DZ, one of the greatest of all time, one of the hardest working people in that company. That man has a crazy work ethic. His work rate is so crazy that literally, like, this man has range. And I've been saying this for the longest time. Like, he's one of the best they have in terms of, like, if you want to have a good match and you trust somebody as that guy, like, that guy would be Dolph Ziggler. Like, you'd want to hire a guy like Dolph Ziggler in your company. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of those pillar guys. And I feel like he's been there long as almost freaking Randy Orton. He's getting to that level of longevity, but, you know, he's on that, like, part of his career where it's just like, I feel like his passion for wrestling has been rejuvenated again because he posted that post of saying, like, you know, it's my welcome back party to wrestling almost, because for a period of time there, like, he kind of just, it felt like he was just doing it as a job, not as a passion anymore. And that, I feel like that showed in a lot of his matches because it just felt like, oh, it's just another Dolph Ziggler match. But now it's like, it feels fun again. It feels like,
well, I can't wait
to see.
I feel like the consensus was Dolph doesn't, like, he's just happy to be there. He's getting paid.
Yeah.
His passion for the craft isn't as, you know, what it once was. He enjoys the paycheck, he enjoys the company, enjoys working, enjoys the touring. He has his outside gigs, like the comedy stuff. And he just, you know, he's not upset. Like, you know, most people would be upset about Dolph doesn't get pushed, Dolph doesn't get that, but it's like, I don't think Dolph's even that upset about it.
I don't think Dolph's upset. Yeah, and that kind of, like, made me think, like, yo, like, it's not that I don't like him anymore, but I was just kind of like, damn, like, I really used to fuck with him. And it got me feeling like that again. I'm like, I'm just so happy he won it. And at what people are saying, like, why did Braun Breaker lose the belt? Maybe because they're calling him over to the main roster, and maybe that can be a good thing. I'm not sure, but there can be a lot of ways about going this because considering he pinned Ciampa, not Braun Breaker, so he's still protected in that situation. Also, I wanna address another fact. People are calling him too old. Well, guess what? Finn Balor is 40 freaking years old. Ciampa is freaking 40 years old, I believe, or somewhere around there. And what else? Samoa Joe is 40 years old. This man won the belt a couple of months ago. Like, there are people who are 30 years old and plus who are winning the NXT Championship And sure, you can say it's a developmental belt, but I don't see it as that. I see it as the world title because it's been carried like that for the last couple of years. Feels like I'm cutting a wrestling promo on the show right now. But that company, NXT, was treated like one of the top promotions all across the world. So I see it as, as a big accolade for Dolph, because not only he held the classic World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold, but now he held the NXT title, and he's the only person to do that. Thank you to whoever on the bump that stated that. But yeah, back, you can have the show again.
My thing was, I mean, you are like one of the biggest Dolph Ziggler fans that I know. So, I mean, giving flowers, to your girlfriend in a Dolph Ziggler shirt, like that's your vibe. But
never happened. Don't listen to him.
I got proof. I got pictures. You guys want to see pictures of Daniel giving flowers to his girlfriend in a Dolph Ziggler shirt that says "Steal Your Girl"?
Oh my god!
What?
Bro.
But if I should pull it up right now, I could have posted this clip on Instagram.
Oh my god, no!
I mean, it's for the people. That all being said,
anything for the people. Fine.
Content is king. That being said, I'm happy for Dolph. It's super cool. We've seen a lot of people go back to NXT and reinvent themselves. We saw Finn Balor have a run down there recently before he came back to the main roster. Mandy Rose is down and fully reinvent herself. Toxic Attraction, whether you love them or you hate them, are one of the biggest attractions to NXT.
Fucking killing it, bro. It's insane.
There's a lot of horny wrestling fans that love Toxic Attraction. That's just the truth. Gigi Dolan is over as fuck. Mandy's been over as fuck. The other one, I don't know. But But my point is, it's cool that Dolph's down and he's doing this, and Bobby Roode's still with him. The Dirty Dogs are tag teaming and whatnot. My only thing, and I brought this up to you, is like I like it. I'm down with it. I fuck with it. I don't know how I feel about like Dolph still being on the main roster though, and then also like if he was to go to NXT full time, like made his return back to NXT, even with Roode, like I would be with it if they're going to be like a staple of NXT 2.0 till like the summer or something cool. But it just feels weird because now he's the NXT champion. At least when Braun came to Raw with the NXT title, it felt like an NXT guy. Even Ciampa at this point like comes up to the main roster and it feels like an NXT guy with the championship because they haven't really made like an established name for themselves on the main roster. Whereas if Dolph brings this title to the main roster, like it's cool and stuff, but just the way he's been booked in the last 3 to 4 years alone, even longer, I don't know. Part of it kind of feels like you got this guy that's been booked in like this mid-card, lower mid-card position, bringing the title to the main roster, and then he's like a top guy down there. And I don't know how to put it in words, but there's something about that dynamic that kind of just like throws me up, and I'm happy for Dolph. I was trying to find the post. Oh, they're right here. I want to read the comments from the people on my page and see how people reacted to Dolph.
It was like mixed though. Like I remember I commented on your post and some guy came at me like, "No one cares about your opinion, pal," and I'm like, well, shit, isn't everybody entitled to a wrestling opinion? But I guess not.
Here I thought, this comes from Greg 7Uno8. Here I thought that NXT 2.0 was going to actually make new stars, and here we go again. They see someone become popular, and let's bring them up. Last NXT failed to produce new stars, and this brand is going in that direction as well. Dolph Ziggler is the GOAT. I'm here to show the world. I've always been a fan of Dolph, so I'm so happy for him. Honestly, it was lit AF. Absolutely amazing. I'm so happy. Unexpected but flames. I didn't see it coming by WWE. For the past 10 years, they've dropped the ball with Dolph. He's been a staple with the company and has deserved much better. I guess with WWE already having who they want as their champion, there wasn't a spot for him. So NXT was the only place, but hey, it's cool to finally see Dolph win the big one again and have another big title run. I suppose he's going to be pulling a double duty with Raw and NXT like Charlotte did. But then once again, now, if we're going to compare with Charlotte,
but Charlotte was not that great a champion. I'm sorry.
Charlotte was, regardless, when Charlotte brought that belt back to the main roster, Charlotte was Charlotte in the position that Charlotte's in. Dolph's not in that position, and that's the only thing that throws me off. Even if Finn won the belt in the main roster, I know Finn hasn't been booked that strong in the main roster either. But Dolph's just been here for so long, and it feels like he's been in the same position for so long. It's just a little weird to me.
But I don't think it's his fault, obviously. I think, listen, when he's given the ball, when the machine is behind him, we can see how great he is, man. Like, it's just crazy.
I have no argument that Dolph isn't great. I've been a Dolph fan for a very long time. 2K22 just came out. Shout out to WWE Games and everyone that's got the game and rocking it. But like all the years that I played the video games throughout the years, and I had a universe mode, like I always booked Dolph strong too. I always felt like Dolph wasn't used to his full potential on television, but he wasn't my universe modes. I have faith in Dolph. It's just the way he's been booked thus far for the last 4 or 5 years. It's really hard for me to do it. If he was just going to be on NXT and become like a staple on NXT for the next 4 or 5 months and not be on Raw, I think there's something you can do there. But if he's going to be double on both shows, it's going to feel weird just from my perspective. He doesn't feel like he's at the same level, and I know this is offensive, as Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns right now. I can't see Dolph in that picture with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns right now. He doesn't feel like he's even in the same pool with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. He doesn't, and it sucks. He's always been that guy that gets a title shot, but he's also that guy never won it. So it's just this weird. And honestly, sometimes I forgot him, and I don't even know. If you asked me 2 weeks ago what show were Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode on, I'd have to like think about it really quickly. Like Raw, SmackDown, so I don't know.
Oh, bro, come on. But no, I get it.
I fuck with Dolph. I want this to work out for him. I think this is great. I thought it was a cool moment. He didn't pin Ciampa. He didn't pin Bronson. Wow, he didn't pin Braun Breaker. He pinned Ciampa. And that means that there's still potential that we get Braun Breaker versus Dolph Ziggler for the world title at Stand and Deliver WrestleMania weekend, which would be a banger of a singles match.
That'll be fire. Dolph would sell for that, man. I know that.
And I definitely do see Braun Breaker becoming a 2-time NXT champion, but I also do see Braun Breaker getting called up very soon, so it's a conflicting thing. Does Dolph win and stay on NXT for a bit, or does Braun win and stay? And, Dolph just comes back to Raw doing whatever Dolph does on Raw. Like, I don't know. Is he even on Raw? Or is he on SmackDown?
He's on Raw with Roode.
See, that's what I mean.
You have to ask me. I thought that's the biggest Dolph stand, but
it was a big moment. I thought it was hyped. It was good stuff. And yeah, man, like Stone Cold,
awesome,
Stone Cold. The Texas Rattlesnake answered Kevin Owens' challenge. So when I was at the airport Monday, I came back. I was at the airport when Raw was on, so I didn't really get to watch live, but I did jump on one of the streaming websites illegally. Shout out Watch Wrestling. Don't get canned. And I did watch the end half of Raw, like the last little few segments at the airport while I was charging my phone. And I watched the Kevin Owens promo, and I think we all kind of knew where it was leading. Kevin Owens was going to call out Stone Cold Steve Austin for WrestleMania. That's been the rumor for weeks. That's what everyone's been expecting. And I have gone on a limb and said, really, from the get-go, that I do not want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestle a match. I think the way he went out against The Rock at WrestleMania 19 was sweet. If he was going to come back, he had 19 years to come back and have a proper feud with somebody to have a farewell. It could have been Punk. It could have been Michaels again. It could have been anybody. And it's not that it couldn't be Kevin Owens. It actually could be Kevin Owens too, but I just felt like this was very rushed. I wouldn't want how far is WrestleMania? Like 2 weeks from now?
3 weeks.
I don't want them
3.5 weeks. Almost
so 3 months to build one last match for Austin. I feel like you need more than a month than that. You need like a good plant the seeds in the summer, play it around Survivor Series, like Royal Rumble. Like it needed to be like if you're going to build Austin, have one more match, it needed to be planned out properly, not a last minute situation. And that's why I didn't want to have a match. And I know a lot of people going to Dallas and going to WrestleMania like, yeah, I want to be there for Austin's last match, yada yada yada. And honestly, there was a part of me that was like, fuck, if it is his last match, and maybe I'm gonna make like the last minute trip.
You gotta come through.
And I'm not the only one that felt that way. My boy Wrestling for Sale was like, man, if Austin's wrestling, I'm going. There's a lot of people I talked to that were like, man, if Austin's wrestling, like I guess I gotta go. Owens called him out. After Owens and Seth lost a tag match at the beginning of the night where Randy Orton or RK Bro regained, I should say, the tag team championships. Seth and Owens kind of a little bit of falling out. And Owens was like, you know what I'm going to do for WrestleMania to get myself in the card? I'm calling you out, Stone Cold. And Austin responded. There was a video that was posted the following day, and Austin's like, 19 years ago he left, and Owens got something out of him, and it doesn't matter if you want to call it a match, a KO show, whatever. He's gonna come there and whoop Kevin Owens' ass. WWE already started promoting it as the KO show. The news has been going around that Austin wasn't gonna agree to actually do an actual match, but he is down to do some sort of segment, like a fighting scene. And that's what we're going to get. Exactly what I wanted. Austin's to come out to the glass and shatter. They're probably going to go back and forth. They're going to lead to a fight. They're going to start fighting each other. And I'm not saying it's going to be like a 20-minute wrestling match, but they'll fight each other for a good 5 minutes, and it'll end with a stunner and some beers, maybe multiple stunner and lots of beers. And I'm okay with that. One of my favorite segments from WrestleMania 21 was the Roddy Piper Stone Cold Piper's Pit, because you had the badass from the past with the badass of the 90s clashing in the ring. Roddy Piper was a rebel of the 80s. Austin was a rebel of the late 90s. And now they're in the ring together for a Piper's Pit, and they're calling each other out and slapping each other across the face until Carlito came out there and they both beat up Carlito. And then it ended with Austin stunnering Piper himself. Great segment. Loved it. Go back and watch it all the time.
It's great.
I feel like that's what this is, but now it's the rebel of the late 90s with the rebel of the 2010s and Kevin Owens coming out here. And we're going to get something like that, where it does end with Kevin Owens getting stunned maybe a couple times, and Austin just drinking beers and enjoying Texas.
That's so dope, though. No, I agree. I for once, like, I'm gonna be there, so I'm looking forward to this specifically. But like, I'm just happy for KO. Like, that was his idol growing up. We've seen that picture of Kevin Owens and Stone Cold, and this was before Kevin Owens was Kevin Owens, and it's cool to see him live out his dream, and it's probably gonna mean a lot to him. So I'm happy for Owens. I'm happy for Austin. So it's good. It's good on both teams. Good on both parties.
It's WrestleMania. Oh, before we get there, actually. Now that Owens is doing this, the big elephant in the room is, what does Seth do?
Adrenaline in myself. Cody fucking Rhodes is coming.
Like, everything on this WrestleMania feels very shotgun. But what have I been saying for weeks on the show, for months on the show, since whenever Cody left? Since Cody left, I was like, the first feud for Cody. And I'm not saying I'm the only one that said this. I'm sure a lot of people on Twitter. I've been using Twitter these days, and it's I read people's tweets. I feel like I say this every couple of months. Like, I'm using Twitter now, guys, and then I fall off and stop using it. But I'm sure lots of people have said it too. But I know I've specifically been saying it for months now, that Cody and Seth would have to be the first feud. There's just something about it that's very apropos. And like, Seth's the WWE guy. Cody's coming back. He's the guy that helped launch AEW. There's just something. You would think that Seth would be someone that would dislike the fact that Cody's coming back, and technically, they're both got the same level of athleticism and talent to have a really good match.
Yeah,
so that's something I'm not fully against either. So, do you think Seth and Cody is the writing on the wall for Seth and Cody?
See what you did there. For sure, I think what better way to bring back Cody than have him face WWE's guy? You know what I mean? So I think and the promos are going to be great, man. I feel like Seth is always so good on the mic, and Cody's great on the mic, and they can go back and forth, have a little confrontation, possibly hint at AEW, and fans are going to go ballistic. But I feel like, man, what better way to have this in a WrestleMania to showcase the Immortals and at the most stupendous event. But I don't know, because there's a lot of factors that play in. Because, for example, Damian Priest recently changed his finisher. His finisher before was the Reckoning, and it was basically the Crossroads, and he changed that. Also, Raw's going to be in Jacksonville, Florida, this coming week. And that's the home of AEW when it was during the pandemic era.
What's the home of AEW, right? Like the Jacksonville.
Exactly, and I feel like there's also been news was dropping left and right saying he's using this as leverage, like how Brian Pillman did back in the 90s, and it's gonna work out, but it's gonna take some time. But I don't know. I feel like it's gonna work out. I feel like we're gonna see Cody, because it just makes sense. The way Seth is acting, on social media, he's blacking out his Twitter and all that, and he's getting crazy again. And you know what it means? What crazy Seth means? It means something crazy is going to happen. And I'm looking forward to it. I feel like I'm talking so much and I'm excited because Cody's a fucking man.
Cody versus Seth is something I want. Then I think you can shotgun that and have it continue even after WrestleMania. And there's something to do.
And even if it's a 2-week build, dude, that's fine. That's totally
How do we feel about Edge and AJ now? Because it was reported
Edge had the same lights.
Edge started beating the crap out of AJ with a chair last week on Raw. This week he came out with the blue light. Like, what is Edge doing? Like, is he a heel now fully? Because I didn't watch the segment. How was that promo?
So Edge just comes out. He's just like talking crap about AJ. He's like, I need the whole AJ back. I need the one that that was actually really good, and now tag teaming with Omos and he like has this different aura to him where it wasn't just like he's for the fans. He's doing it for himself, and he was saying how like he liked hurting AJ that way and like taking the shortcut to like get to him and all that. So I mean, he is a heel. It makes sense. And one thing that I appreciate is that like he's not going back to like the old Edge that we all grew up watching and stuff. He's actually taking a chance and doing something new because you know what I mean? Like that's good, man. I feel like this new stuff is great. And like I feel like you always talk about it. Like when Cena always used to do this same old thing. But this is Edge now, doing something different. We never saw Edge with his hair tied back, looking like a Viking. Like, this is different, and I'm looking forward to it. So I think, like, I want to see how the story plays out. And, I'm glad they wrote AJ off because, like, Edge just whooped his ass, and now, who knows, AJ is going to be at the go-home show, and they're going to do a little confrontation, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to the Edge entrance in WrestleMania. Are they going to use his other theme? Or
This man loves the entrances. He only watches.
I'm gonna
He's
go
going to the whole show just for the entrances. My people.
Realistically, yeah, because it's like you always used to listen to these theme songs. Now they're gonna play out at WrestleMania. It's so fucking cool to think about. I don't know.
So we learned a couple of things this past week as well. First things first, huge congratulations to Vader being the next inductee into the Hall of Fame. Long overdue. I wish they did it while he was still alive. He attended a ton of the Hall of Fames while he was still alive. One of my favorite big men as a kid. As a 90s kid, like I thought Vader was like a monster in like the mid to late 90s when he showed up in WWF. Like when he was feuding like Shawn and Yoko and like that whole era, like I was like, as I got older, I was disappointed how like he never really achieved the level of success he could in the WWF. But then as I got older and I went back and started watching some of the WCW stuff and seeing some of the stuff he's done in Japan and the big elephant mask, like I've always been fascinated by Vader. Like he just came off like a badass. Just a badass. And like the stories about him and his eye popping out and the fight.
Yo, that was scary.
And, like, he's a legitimate badass and he didn't get enough credit. I even popped, I think it was like 2004 or 5 when he came back to fight Batista with Jonathan Coachman. I'm like, oh, it's Vader. It's Vader. So I'm a big Vader fan. I think it's long overdue. I'm happy he's going to the Hall of Fame. I wish, once again, they did it while he was still alive, but it is what it is. It also shows that a lot of us that were concerned if Taker was going to go in solo this year, if there's going to be more inductees. It seems like there's going to be more inductees. It seems very rushed. We'll probably get like another 2 maybe. But yeah, shout out to Vader, big man.
Also,
Vader.
I think like
it's time. But yeah.
Also, on a sidetrack, I think I do agree with you. I feel like he should have went into the Hall of Fame when he was alive and all, but it just goes to show, man, like give your flowers to people when they're around here still. Don't wait until they're gone. And I know Mustafa Ali said that, so I think like I just wanted to bring that up real quick. But yeah.
Ali's the man. Shout out to Mustafa Ali.
Shout out to Ali. He repped you recently too, right?
He did. He did. I posted it. He's the man though. He's a good dude. And guys, listen to the Revolution recap. I got to meet a lot of the wrestlers that followed the page and had a lot of cool experiences with them. I got to introduce myself to Malachi in person, so Anna and Tay and Sammy and Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. It was a really good time in Orlando. It was my first ever AEW event, guys. So like I said, just because we don't want this show to go over an hour, I'm going to do it separately as a bonus episode, probably drop them at the same time, but make sure you guys check it out. Revolution recap. I was there live. A bunch of stuff happened. It was a good time. We'll break down the show. But before we do talk about a little bit of AEW on the show, because we are going to talk about this week's Dynamite and some stuff we didn't get to talk about last week, like the epic MJF promo and the purchase of Ring of Honor, we need to talk about the Pat McAfee show with Vince McMahon. How fucking cool was that?
That was so natural.
I missed my flight, and I probably missed my flight because I stayed home and watched that. But how authentic! And I listened to some other recaps of it and stuff, and I understand what some people are like. No, like Pat didn't really ask the hard hitting questions. But I'm like, he's still employed by this man. By the way, that's still his boss.
What do you mean hard? When people, what I don't understand. Listen, wrestling fans can never be happy. It's like you wanted this man on the Pat McAfee show, which he had Brock Lesnar, all these cool fucking people.
Well, he has access to those people because he works for the company.
Exactly.
And they trust him.
Not only
And
that,
he gets the numbers and the exposure that they want.
not only that, but like, what hard-hitting questions do you want the fucking man to ask him? Because like he asked him about AEW, and Vince was like, "I'm not bothered by it. I love
the purchase of Ring of Honor." And people like, he didn't even ask him. I'm like, no, he did. Vince is really savvy and media trained that he was like, yeah, I love competition. He's not going to address them directly.
I don't think he's scared. I genuinely don't think he's scared. This man trains at 2 a.m.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of like company politically correct answers to questions, but of course there was gonna be. Of course there was gonna be. What you expect? You expected to let loose and just like spill the beans and talk shit? Like he shared a lot about his personal life. He talked about the whole situation of him getting into like graduating college and going to his teachers' houses and
that was the funniest shit. Bro. I'm gonna do that
stuff that a lot of because this is the thing. I think there's a lot of hardcore wrestling fans like myself that have heard a lot of these stories throughout the years. But for a lot of younger fans, they were hearing Vince McMahon's stories for the first time. A lot of them probably didn't know he grew up in a trailer park. A lot of them probably didn't know he was abused as a kid. A lot of them probably didn't know that he went over the head of the entire National Wrestling Alliance and broke all the fucking rules and bombarded through people's territories and started putting wrestling out there. A lot of people probably didn't know that, he's been with Linda since college. The
funny thing was when he talked to Linda, he's like, my wife at the time, then he like corrected himself. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, a lot of people
were like, what are you trying to tell us?
Are they not together anymore? But like, of course, there's a lot he didn't tell us, but he was very candid and open for the most part. And, obviously there's some stuff as a businessman and as someone who's the owner of a multi-billion-dollar company with shareholders. He answered really politically correct, but what else did you guys expect him to do?
But, don't understand. And he seemed happy. He seemed really jacked, I love it. Makes me happy that Vince he looks great.
And they even tried to wrap it up at one point, and Vince was like, no, let's just keep going. He was like fully himself. And yes, there's some stuff that was kind of like,
You know what I found really
saying like them letting go of people isn't personal, it's business, and he doesn't, but like I've said this so many times on this show since day one. I said it now. I feel like Vince's relationships with the wrestlers, the older he's gotten, has changed because I feel like before they became a publicly traded company with shareholders, he had different relationships with the wrestlers and he would take a lot of things personally. Also, he was closer to age with the wrestlers. He was learning the business. He put more trust in them. He had a different relationship with guys like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and the Ultimate Warrior and Andre and Austin and The Rock and Mick Foley and Triple H because it was a different time and they were all in together. It was a family-owned company. That's why those guys like Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross that he'll always have respect for because they were there during those years. And then he became a publicly traded company where it became less of a family business and now it's a corporate business and a lot of the decisions weren't personal based, they were business based, and a lot of that's true. And I also feel like he's older now, so it's harder for him to connect with this newer audience, this newer, group of wrestlers and have that relationship with them because a lot of them grew up as fans and they're intimidated by him, or it's more business to him now. It's not a personal thing anymore. And he's not going out and drinking. He's not he's not partying with them. He's not having those relationships that he used to have. I think the last generation of wrestlers that he had really like probably close-knit relationships with is that like John Cena, Brock, Batista, Randy Orton era. And then after that, like he started drifting off and having those super close relationships with the talent. Have we heard that he has close relationships with his champions and top talent? For sure. I believe that's true.
No.
That doesn't mean everybody. So a lot of the guys that he brought up from NXT and he wanted them to act a certain way in a character and they didn't agree with it and they couldn't get down exactly what he wanted and he let them go. He basically explained in the interview, like, if they can't get across what we're trying to produce or like they can't like make it their own or we give them an idea and they're just bitter and upset about it, then they're not valuable to us. And there is a lot of guys that afterwards got released by the company going to a show and said, well, he wanted me to do this and that and this and that. And I just couldn't feel it. And then I got released out of nowhere. I'm not making excuses, but I'm saying he did kind of defend his point. I don't like seeing anybody get released or fired, but he did kind of defend the point that if like he gives everybody an opportunity, but if you're not going to capitalize on opportunity and you're going to be like boohoo about a lot of things, and not really try. And I know a lot of people try, but you can tell when someone's trying and their heart's not really in it. If your heart's not really in it, and they don't, if you can't get your heart in it, then we're trying. What are we going to keep you around for?
Yeah, no. I also found interesting how he talked about Saudi Arabia and that entire deal and everything, which is really cool to me because the way Pat asked it was just like, it was like Smooth Criminal, you know what I mean? Like this man just slid in, did his thing, and like it just flowed with every single answer and question, like back to back, and like it didn't really feel like an interview.
You can tell he genuinely likes Pat.
No, and Pat's the man, dude. I love Pat. Like at first, he even talked about how he almost got fired or something for his first WrestleMania because he wore he wore that, and Michael Cole was mad at him, and like
the jokes for Michael Cole were funny.
Yeah, the jokes.
But the two biggest takeaways for me was that Vince would be inducting the Undertaker in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Which I think that was everybody predicted either Kane or Vince or someone in the McMahon family would be inducting Vince McMahon. Would be inducting the Undertaker, and Vince McMahon will be inducting the Undertaker in the Hall of Fame. And I think that's fitting. This is the second time he'll be doing this. The only other person who's ever inducted was Stone Cold. Yeah. And Vince has said a lot of times. I think he even might have mentioned it on the Pat McAfee show, where he's like, he always looked at the Stone Cold character as himself because that's how he feels about authority and whatnot.
That's so fucking dope, though. Like Vince is, because here's the thing. What I also found so interesting was when Pat McAfee got first hired to the WWE, a lot of people were like, well, you're going to finally learn to what it's like being in Vince's, like, having Vince in your ear or something. And then Pat responded like, well, I'd love to have a genius telling me what's going on in my ear. And like, I respect the hell out of that, man. I respect both.
Yeah. And I think, but once again, like Pat has a lot of freedom, and Vince's argument was, if the fans weren't reacting, they weren't giving you a positive response, and you probably wouldn't have that freedom, but they like it, so whatever. So like, and I do think there's a little bit of BS when it comes to we listen to our fans. Let's be real here, because like, do you listen to your fans? Because there's a whole, because Pat even asked, he's like, what about it like in like the pandemic Thunderdome area? Like, were you on social media? Vince is like, no. Like, you don't really listen to your fans, but the internet fans can be really shitty. I understand that, but I just mean like there was no fans to listen to then, and you were just kind of going with what you felt was right. He's like, we just felt like things were right, and like, but like you never knew, and we know how much WWE loves piping and sound. So like, do you really listen to your fans, my guy? I don't know. The second big thing that came out of the Pat McAfee interview with Vince McMahon is that Pat McAfee's getting a match at WrestleMania, and we've now found out that he'll be facing Austin Theory, which was pretty much the prediction. And how do we feel about that?
That's cool. Pat's gonna be great. Austin's gonna help him as well, and I'm glad it's turning this way, and it's not like the way where like, Shout out to Austin.
No, yeah, shout out to my cousin Tucker, who's giving me the middle finger. He's up in the room up here, But I think it's obvious that it's going to be Austin Theory. I think we've seen Pat have epic, great matches on NXT. I feel like
bring him on the show. Get him. Let's get Tucker on the show.
He went into his room now. I think that
scared, panicking.
Everyone go follow Tucker Binning on Twitch. He plays video games sometimes. I think it's Tucky B. Give him a Twitch follow. Yeah. But no, I think. Everyone thought we were going to get Pat versus Vince, which I thought was just outrageous from the get-go. Like, why would we get Pat McAfee versus Vince McMahon? But I like this, and I think, would Austin Theory be my ideal opponent for Pat McAfee? Does that say, like, blockbuster match in my mind? No. But Austin Theory can wrestle. He's a good wrestler, and he can cut promos, and I think him and Pat would have a great wrestling match. I see a lot of John Cena and Austin Theory. I've said that a lot. Yeah. And Pat McAfee is Pat motherfucking McAfee. He's going to give Austin Theory that rub that he's working with Pat McAfee. It's crazy how much weight Pat McAfee holds, and he's not even like in the business.
He's not even a wrestler, bro. It's no, it's crazy because this man came in and everyone's like, oh,
he was a punter too. He's not even like a quarterback.
Literally, and also,
but he's just such a charismatic personality.
Yeah.
And aura about him, and he's so entertaining that he's just so beloved by like.
So sick,
like he came from the. I'm not a football fan, right? Like I don't watch the NFL, so that sounded like demeaning or some shit. Like he's just a punter, because I don't watch football, right? But like every time I'm like, oh, Pat McAfee to like one of my friends that watch football, like, oh yeah, he was like the punter, and they kind of downplay it. So I'm just like, oh, is that like a bad thing? But it's the fact that he came into the wrestling world, and someone like me that doesn't even watch football embraced him so much because he genuinely comes off like a fan of this business, someone that loves it, someone that wants to see it prosper. And when he's on commentary, like for a lot of years, like the commentary's been pretty stale. No disrespect to everybody that's on commentary. No disrespect to Michael Cole or Tom Phillips or Byron Saxton. Even Morrow, I used to get annoyed at Morrow. Like I know a lot of people love Morrow, but I was just
Yeah.
I felt like you never used to let other people talk sometimes because you want to scream "Mamma Mia." But like, I've always appreciated guys like Corey Graves that come in there and try to have a little bit of a personality. I like Byron when he's with Corey because their banter with each other is good. Like,
Shut up, Saxton.
yeah, like there's certain things that work and keep you entertained. I loved it when Renee was on commentary with Corey because you knew they were genuinely friends and there was like actual inside jokes and shit happening on the air. And the thing I love about Pat McAfee is he's a character. He's a personality. He's dancing during Shinsuke's things. He's saying stuff that we understand and we relate to.
And he kind of like cusses too. Like he just drops like shit or like
You'll say the word wrestling.
I don't know, wrestling, yeah, and it's just like, and I don't know if it's gonna matter, but I also loved how he told Vince he should illegally stream WWE back in the day, and
We
Vince
all
was
did
like,
the black box.
"Why you owe me for that, pal?" or something, and it was just funny.
But how about how do you feel about the whole theory of Vince saying like, would you rather be a wrestler or a WWE superstar? Like, there's a difference because I was
Yeah,
like,
putting him in the spot.
there is some merit to that.
Listen, if you're talking to me like Daniel the person, then yeah, I'd love to be called a WWE superstar because it's like you grew up watching this, and I feel like every kid who got into wrestling was because of WWE in a way, at least from my generation, because I didn't get to grow up watching WCW, but you put me on WCW because of that. So I think WWE superstar definitely holds a certain presence. I'm not taking anything away from the label professional wrestler. I understand that as well, but at the end of the day, both hold weight to a certain like name of aspect or whatever. And I think like there is a biased way, I'm just saying that because I feel like being called a WWE superstar sounds so fucking sick. Like, I don't know, but
I think it makes sense.
I get it. I really get it.
You know what I mean?
You're supposed to be larger than life. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. That's what you're trying to be portrayed as.
And a lot of wrestlers right now that are killing it in wrestling were WWE superstars once upon a time. They have that rub. They have that shine. Exactly. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Jeff Hardy, who just debuted. I'm joking, Jeff Hardy, I know. But you know what I mean? Like I think it was a good explanation to would you rather be a professional wrestler or would you want to be a WWE superstar?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to be a football player or do you want to be someone that is an NFL football player? Like I played for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you want to forever be known as someone that played basketball? Like you're a basketball player? Or do you want to be like, nah, he was part of the NBA? Like that's the merit to where you once were. You want to be someone that was on a TV channel in America when you were a kid that some people watched? Do you want to be a Disney Channel kid? I mean, we all remember the kids from the Disney Channel, do we not? Do we not? I don't think there's anything else WWE. Like, shout out to Liv and Rhea getting added to the tag match. I still don't know how I feel about that. This makes me feel like there's maybe less of a chance of Sasha and Naomi winning, and Sasha won't get her first win in a tag match. But the fact that Sasha's not facing Charlotte or even like in a triple threat with Charlotte and Ronda is sick. But and I do think they're building the tension between Carmella and Zelina, with Carmella being more focused on her wedding than she is with the match, and that's all cool. We saw Ronda wrestle Sonya. We saw Ronda wrestle the first match ever on SmackDown. That was cool. Usually I have so much more to say about the WWE's women's division, but nothing's really
clicking for you, eh, pal?
Yeah, it's just not. And I'm a big Ronda fan, big Charlotte fan. I think that'll be a good match. Probably main eventing night one. I want to see Bianca get a retribution on Becky from SummerSlam. It's a perfect way to get paid. Have the payoff to that whole 26 second loss. But other than that, like, there's nothing. It's a really celebrity-filled WrestleMania.
That's what I noticed too. But
versus the Mysterios, Johnny Knoxville versus Sammy.
That makes me think though, like since WrestleMania is in California next year, how many celebrity matches are we gonna get then if we're getting so many now?
You would think this show would be in California.
No, exactly, and it's just like it's backwards, I think. But
Yeah, because Logan in California would pop off way more than Logan. And don't get me wrong, I'm not. We can't rule out that Logan might not have another match next year. At this point, it almost feels like if you were any sort of celebrity and you reach out to the WWE and be like, "Yo, look, I'm a celebrity. Can I be on WrestleMania?" They're gonna be like, find a way to get you on there and shit.
I don't want a way to get into wrestling now, guys. I'm kidding.
Become an actor first and then try to wrestle.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's it for the WWE. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything that we missed, but
nothing too crazy. There's that new girl that was on NXT. What's her name? Sophia Cromwell. Go follow her. She's pretty. Yeah, I don't know. Carmella's getting married. Shout out to Carmella and Graves, a TV show. Corey and Carmella. I enjoyed it, but I'm also a fan of both people, like the humans. So like maybe there's a bit of bias there. I wouldn't necessarily call it a television show because they were all like 10 minutes, like not even 20 minutes long. I was hoping for like full length, like maybe 26-minute episodes, and I didn't realize they were going to release them all in 1 week. I thought they were going to be like a week by week sort of situation. I was kind of okay with that. I feel like when they started dropping them back to back, like day by day by day, it kind of threw some fans off. I don't think any of us were expecting that. They should have probably informed us of that beforehand. I saw reports that the numbers are really down and people weren't happy with it, but I also saw conflicting reports saying WWE is really proud of the way the numbers and the way it played on YouTube and stuff like that. I know it's not for everyone. I know a lot of people think it's just them making sex jokes and talking about that all the time. I know it's not everyone's cup of coffee, but if you were a Total Divas fan, if you were a Total Bellas fan, you will like the show. I do hope they get more, and I do hope a network picks them up, or they can even be on Peacock or something. I'm sure these episodes will be on Peacock for sure, but hope they get a little bit more because it's nice to see them branching out of just WWE and everybody needs a life after wrestling, especially the women. I don't get me wrong, the women can stay as long as they want, but most of them will leave and try other ventures, have children, and we'll see them come back every once in a while. Like we've seen Lita come back. Well, Lita doesn't have any kids, but we've seen Trish come back and we've seen Beth come back. I think the Rumble had like 6 moms on that show or something, like Marie, Trish, and the Bellas. Like, it's not saying that your career is over.
You can look, but you can't.
Most of the time, it's cool to start figuring out things you can do outside of wrestling because a lot of the women don't want to wrestle past 40. What?
I just want to talk about it. I'm excited.
Okay, let's talk about the MJF CM Punk promo last week that we never got to talk about because I didn't record an episode last week. Just because I was really heavily involved with the feud. And I'm going to talk about Revolution, the chain match, obviously the dog collar match there, but I really did love the match. It was a great match. Probably my favorite match tonight for bias reasons, but that whole show was fucking wild. Listen to the recap. I did not expect what happened in the 6-man with Sting and Darby. And
what
that I didn't know what first things first, being there live, I forgot that match was on the card because I'm like, I think there's like 1 or 2 matches left, and like that match happened. I'm like, oh, I get to see Sting. I forgot I get to see Sting. And I was excited. I'm a little Stinger. Like I grew up a little Stinger, so I was excited. I was like disappointed in myself for forgetting. And obviously Sammy's my boy, and Darby's been nothing but nice to me. So like I was hyped for this match. And listen to the recap because it was everything I did not expect it to be, like crazy. But that being said, MJF and CM Punk, I know, guys, it's a week late, but I just want to say, like, I just thought it was super cool. I listen, there's a lot of backlash over CM Punk's entrance a lot of polarizing opinions about CM Punk's entrance at Revolution, as well as I guess if people didn't understand that entrance, they really didn't understand the promo last week, and it being to one of CM Punk's promos from Ring of Honor when he was leaving. So
you're a snake.
The greatest thing the devil ever did was make you believe that he didn't exist. I am the devil, and like that's a CM Punk promo from Ring of Honor, and I love the fact that CM Punk came out there. He was very empathetic. He was concerned if he was being gaslit, and but he's been the bad guy before. He's made fun of Darby's uncle. He's poured alcohol down an alcoholic's throat. He's done all these bad things in his career. He's trying to be a good guy because he knows that didn't do anything for him. And out comes MJF, and he asks MJF what he wants to do, and MJF gives him a hug, and CM Punk kind of resists at first, and he hugs him back, and then MJF, he steps back for a second, eyes all watery, and kicks him right in the nuts, similar to how he turned on Cody Rhodes That's like CM Punk. Little
you're smoking gas tonight.
signature, kicking people in the nuts, and then the beat down of bloody MJF. It was a bloody CM Punk, and he cut the promo.
I mean, both of them were wearing white, so I mean, I was like, this is gonna come down to that, and it did. So it was cool.
Yeah, and he had that picture, and the best thing is, like, and I know they did like a little bit of like a CM Punk talked about it on Rampage in a video package, but I like that they didn't really have Punk pump it up too much, and then him coming out to the Ring of Honor entrance, like.
That shit made me cry. I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of you guys are younger. A lot of you guys didn't watch Ring of Honor. I know AEW just bought Ring of Honor. It was a big deal that Christopher Daniels and Bryan Danielson kick off the night after Tony announced. It's a huge announcement because not only do they have that library, so I was at the press media scrum after Revolution, and Tony was trying to not say too much of what he's planning to do with Ring of Honor, but he was kind of just like, here, let me put it this way, like, do you guys like NXT 2.0? And everyone in the scrum's like, oh, whatever. I liked NXT 2.0, so I was just kind of like, I don't know. And then, he's like, but did you guys like NXT Black and Gold? And everyone's like, yeah, NXT Black and Gold. And he's like, well, just think of it like that. So I think he is kind of going to try to treat Ring of Honor like what NXT was, where when he does sign new people, they start there. It's kind of a development. They come to the main roster eventually. They'll have guys like Regal and Bryan Danielson working with these guys down there and stuff. And it's going to be like what NXT was to WWE, and that's cool. But they also own the video library. So guys, the people like Brian, the people like Punk, people like Samoa Joe and Steen, and all these people, like Punk said at the press scrum, like now I don't have to worry about Ring of Honor being a tab on some streaming service that's hard to navigate on, and barely plays. Like he believes that the content will be taken care of because he believes in Tony Khan, and he believes that Tony Khan appreciates wrestling, and it's super cool. But that Punk entrance was from Ring of Honor, and I know a lot of people aren't Ring of Honor fans like that, but like,
bro, that entrance is.
I'm a student of the game. I'm a student of the game, and I knew what that was. The moment that music hit, and I was like, oh, it's AFI.
When I heard those drums, just like, I'm like, bro, I literally like fucking screamed, and my entire house was just like, what the fuck? Because I remember every time, like, I don't know why, when I was going through shit, I'd always watch like CM Punk entrances just to like get me hype and shit. And I was always watching his Ring of Honor entrance. I'm like, I hope one day this man like returns to wrestling and has this on like a grand scale where like the production of it and everything, like it would be so cool. And I'm glad he got to do that. And like he even talked about it. He's like, the first time I saw those basketball shirts with like the letters Punk on it or whatever, he cried. He cried when he looked at the jacket and everything backstage. So I'm glad like
he's like, when they replaced it with Larry on there and stuff, like I'm gonna talk more about AEW and Revolution, the scrum and all that on the bonus AEW show that we'll be releasing also tonight at some point. But definitely, guys, there's 2 articles that came out this week. There was an article on CM Punk, or like the last couple of weeks, I should say. I shouldn't say this week specifically. They came out in the last 2 weeks. There's an article by Esquire on CM Punk. I would highly recommend going to read that if you want to know more about what CM Punk went through in the last 7 years and what happened when he left WWE, what happened in the years between, and how he feels about being back in wrestling, man.
I gotta check that out.
And also, like, he said it, and it's like, I put a tweet out myself. I was like, honestly, I feel like I've been writing love letters to wrestling for the last 8 years. But Punk said that, like, what he feels like he's doing now is like a lot of the stuff he does is him writing love letters to wrestling, something that he loved for so long. And he's paying homage to a lot of things. Like that dog collar match was for Roddy Piper. That entrance was for who he once was and what Ring of Honor meant to him. Like, he's doing things. If the fans don't get it, the fans don't get it. But if they get it, sweet. But he's doing it for himself. Yeah. He's doing it for wrestling. And to show that, for 7 years, yes, I lost love for this stuff and I left and I didn't appreciate it and I was bitter towards it. But now I'm back in a company that appreciates wrestling as much as I appreciate wrestling, surrounded by a bunch of people that appreciate wrestling the way I appreciate wrestling. And I want to show you guys that I do love this. I really do love wrestling. I got consumed by it 100%. I'm not going to get consumed by anything 100% ever again. But
sounds like a lot of my life problems. Never get consumed by girls or money, guys. I promise it doesn't end well.
Girls, especially girls. Daniel's a lover boy. He's a certified lover boy. Shout out to Drake. Toronto, something to water out there. But yeah. Enough about CM Punk. I got to ask CM Punk question. We'll talk about that in the Revolution recap. that my nervousness in like asking CM Punk a question and being stressed if I even should and like feeling cringe for like 2 days. I can't even watch it back till this day. I can't.
I watched it like 10 times. That's so cool. I'm so proud.
I'm like, no, I hate it. I made Tony pop though.
Tony was just
I made
static.
Tony pop. But yeah. Yeah. So I got a text. Shout out to AJ, Lady King, guys, keep me. She's still doing the thing. But before we get to what Daniel wants to talk to, because we have 10 minutes, shout out to Scorpio Sky winning the TNT Championship. I didn't see it coming. I thought Sammy was going to retain. Jade Cargill is a TBS champion, and Scorpio Sky is a TNT champion. Black excellence. It is like Tony gets a lot of shit. They're doing the thing. It's cool to see that, man.
I just found it funny on Jay just kissed. What's her name? Bro, I'm gonna get shit for this. Who did she kiss on Revolution, man? Tay Conti.
Yeah. We'll talk about Revolution. We'll talk about Revolution soon. Dynamite was good. A lot of good stuff happened in this week. Dynamite. We end up talking about it on the Revolution show as well. But because we're here and because I know Daniel is probably gonna like take the floor for like another 5 minutes, like he did with Jeff Hardy. I mean, with Dolph Ziggler. Wow, I spoiled the finish.
Wait, let me move my light screen. Okay, I'll stop.
Bow, 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 bow.
First of all, I just found it crazy how he got the song, first of all, because like you think about it and it's like, bro, that's like
no more words.
What's up?
I was hoping for no more words.
No, but it's like you got the OG Hardy's theme song. Like that's crazy. That's like marketable as hell too.
I'm pretty sure it's public domain, that song. So I don't think it's like an actually owned song. Like it was in like commercials for other shit.
Yeah, something.
I know there was still a process of securing it and making it okay, sure that they can use it. I know that must have been a thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, I would have been more shocked if somehow he had no more words, because like that would be like, how'd you score that?
I feel well. I mean, like he can sing it, but it's like I don't think that would hit the same. And I also love his TNA theme songs. Those are just fire. If you know, you know. But bro, what a way to bring him back, but also like. Part of me feels like it's way too worthy because it's just like Isaiah Scott Swerve just made his debut, and it's like I really feel like Keith Lee. Like there's so many, and I feel like
I'm happy he's there.
I'm happy. I love Jeff Hardy.
Be the Hardy Boys. I'm happy he's not going to jump into a singles run right away. We'll definitely get the Hardys in the Bucks again. We might get the Hardys versus FTR. We'll get the Hardys versus Private Party. We'll get the Hardys versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. The Hardys versus Red Dragon. The tag division AEW's stacked. My concern is when he breaks out to be a single star again, how that's going to play out. We'll even get the Hardys versus Darby and Sting at some point. I'm sure of it. But like, I'm okay. Like that was my thing, because I was like, yes, they did just bring in Swerve, such Swerve. Dope dude. I've been a fan of his for years. They did bring in Keith Lee. They did do all this stuff. There's still talent there that we haven't seen a lot of, or like we wish it were featured better, like a Ricky Starks, like a Will Hobbs, like a Miro. But that all being said, like I'm happy he's there. It was a good moment, but I think we need to chill in the debuts. And I know people like
we do.
I know people are always like, yo, sign. It doesn't. What do you mean they need to chill? Like, let them sign whoever they want to sign you. Whoever thinks them signing people is a dumb idea. Like, you're stupid. With Ring of Honor there now and them owning Ring of Honor, I don't think it's that bad.
I don't think. Oh, that's the thing. I feel like maybe Ring of Honor can be like another brand or something like that.
No, 100%.
They can draft.
How they're going to separate it and how they're going to put who where, I don't know. But
I'm hyped, man. Jeffrey Nero Hardy back with his brother, and it's cool, man. He seemed happy. He seemed healthy. He was happy to just. It's funny. He did his little dance, and his brother was getting beat up. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do my dance."
It was like a 6-on-3 beatdown, and this guy still had the time to do his dance and still come to the ring and beat everybody up.
Shit was just jokes.
It's been the running joke. I still find it hilarious.
I love Jeff.
The deal with Santiago, I'm like, I know you have a good sense of humor. Like, watch this. It's hilarious. And he's like, that guy got it in. I'm like, he definitely did.
But also, like, this is another sidetrack thing. I really hope we get like some sort of confrontation or some sort of acknowledgement of CM Punk and Jeff Hardy, because Jeff was asked this in an interview. He's like, now that you signed with All Elite Wrestling, it's the first time in 13 years that you and CM Punk are in the same company. Like, how does that feel? He's like, there's a lot of possibilities there or something, and I'm excited to work with them. So I don't think they have heat in real life, as that was noted by like I don't know whoever. I read that somewhere. It's probably not true, but I'm excited, man. It's so exciting to like be a wrestling fan and just like tune in every week to see like who knows MJF and Jeff Hardy. You know how many things MJF can say,
Sammy Guevara and Jeff Hardy, Darby and Jeff Hardy,
bro. There's so much, and it's so
Jungle
cool.
Boy and Jeff Hardy, Sting and Jeff Hardy, running back, Victory Road 2011, baby.
There's a dick.
Listen, infamous moment, shitty moment, but infamous.
Sure, okay.
Yeah. If I didn't talk about it on the show, it wouldn't be the wrestling class. They'd be like, this guy's always so neutral. He never says anything.
Fair enough.
Brought it up. But no, I'm happy Jeff is there, man. Brother Nero, man. Every time he's out the WWE, he's Brother Nero to me. And I'm happy that it's going down. It's going down.
It's cool, man. It's cool.
I'm happy they're in the tag division to kick things off, like I said. Because, like, if Jeff was coming as a single star, I'd be like,
I don't think it's needed right now, though. I love Jeff, bro. You know
Jericho's still there forming a whole nother group with 2.0 and
what was that?
There's so much happening. Eddie Kingston's with Santana and Ortiz. Like, they're just
finally.
Team Taz is trying to recruit Keith Lee. Swerve's wrestling tonight on Rampage against Tony.
Let's talk about it, though. Let's talk about it, though. FTR.
You don't even know what CM Punk's gonna do next. I'm pretty sure MJF's gonna feud Wardlow.
Yeah, but let's talk about the FTR firing Tully Blanchard to potentially a Bret Hart in their corner, bro. Let me get the
I do think them having Bret Hart would be fucking epic. If it's Bret in their corner, that'd be super, super cool. I don't know if Bret's gonna want to go on the road that often though.
That's the thing. I don't know about that.
So my other option was Cody's gone. Do they just take over Arn? Did they replace Tully with Arn? Well, I don't know what the point would be. Why wouldn't you have just kept both of them? That would have been cool, but Bret would be epic though, but I think them having Bret in the corner. I know how much Dax is a Bret Hart fan. Like I know how much he admires and loves Bret Hart. Like I tweeted supporting his argument of being a bigger Bret Hart fan, being the biggest Bret Hart fan because like when I was writing the article for 1:37 p.m., like he literally commented like 12 to like 15 Bret Hart matches off the top of his head, like. And I mean, like, obscure Bret Hart matches. Because my question was, like, don't give me the matches from SummerSlams and WrestleMania. What other Bret Hart matches? This guy's, like, naming Bret Hart versus Tom Pritchard on a Monday Night Raw in 1995. Like, that's what I mean. He was naming some stuff obviously I knew too, but, like, some, like, obscure Bret Hart matches that, like, this man was studying them tapes. So, like, I think them having Bret in the corner would be super, super cool, especially with heading in towards the Owen Hart tournaments that will be.
Oh, that's coming in May, right?
Yeah, so those are going to wrap up at the Double or Nothing shows, both the men's and the women's tournament. So that being the case,
come out maybe
wouldn't be the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that may be cool, man.
Or even just Bret managing them at Double or Nothing, coming out with FTR would be like
Bret Hart gear or something, like throw on some pink tights, some pink. I don't fucking know, man. I'm excited. I'm just excited. I'm excited for Rampage tonight.
Show Mikey Ruckus. He was a great guy too. Guys, make sure you guys listen. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. This is the TWC show for this week. Make sure you follow Danial MA. Follow me at the Wrestling Classic. All my important links are in my bio. JustinDillon.com, TWCShop.com. Join the Discord. Buy some merch. Check out the Patreon if you haven't already. You got these in video form. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. A whole bunch of stuff. Follow Super Kicks on Tap. I'm doing stuff with them. Follow THS.Wrestling. I'm doing stuff with them. Make sure you guys listen to the Revolution recap show. That will also be released a little after this one here, and you guys can hear about my entire trip in Orlando and all of that fun stuff. Keep stuff. Keep doing the thing, and we'll see you all next week. Fox Avenue Radio and wherever you listen to podcasts.